hymn 346 for our prelude. And we'll do verses 1, 2, and 3. And on 3, we'll sing the word snow instead of rain.
Thank you, John. We're doing lots of singing today with everyone here. Come, come, whoever you are. You are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter your gender, whom you love, how you speak, or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. You're welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears, you are welcome here. No matter what you've experienced in the past, no matter what awaits you in the future, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God all of the time, some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. This is a community of open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands, and you are welcome here at South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. And good morning. My name is Brenda Voizard, and my pronouns are she and her. And welcome to the few of us gathered here in the sanctuary. We're being extra careful and being lots of safety cautions in mind. So we have a small group here, and I think lots of people online with us today. Welcome to those who are streaming as well. Our worship team today is Rob Carlson, who does our religious education program, John Allen and Ricklin Nopis for our music. Stephen Smith is doing our sound and streaming. And then we have guest speakers, Shawnee and Jordan Roberts, Peter Verscore, and Brenda Thomas. This is a service that we do almost annually, and we hear from people in our congregation about what they're doing with their one wild and precious life. And I always look forward to hearing what people have to say and getting inspired. All members of the worship team and staff are fully vaccinated against COVID-19, and singers are tested prior to Sunday. And please do, those who are here and at home, sing as you wish. Those who are here, please keep your mask on throughout the service. And if you are here for the first time, an especially warm welcome. We're glad you found us. And if you want to get to know us more, there's a connection card in the virtual order of service to fill out. And also in the hardback hymnals, there is the QR code if you missed it coming in, and that's where we have our virtual program for the day. We do have a vibrant religious exploration program for children and youth. Meets weekly on Sundays during worship, and our director is Rob Carlson, who'll be doing our story time for all ages. Always happy to answer questions. And Grace, his assistant, is here too. Happy to talk to you about what is happening for kids here. And there is a lot happening at South Valley. And the Happenings Weekly newsletter is a great way to stay up to date. That's an email newsletter. And please do subscribe, again, in the virtual order service if you want, if you don't already. Couple of announcements. Today and next Sunday are the days to bring back the guest at your table boxes, which we gather funding for the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee with these boxes. And we do have a continuing ministry there. We provide meals 2 to 3 times a month for the homeless youth at the Volunteers of America Youth Resource Center. So for more information, if you want to help with those meals, there's making things, there's delivering, there's serving. All of that can be found, more information on our website and in the Happenings newsletter. And let us light our chalice. Tom is going to help me with this. We invite you to stand in body, mind, or spirit as we say our chalice lighting words, and use our actions if you want to. And we light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, and for the energy of action. I think so. And now our opening hymn that was sung at 2020 GA.
This is 1051 in the Teal book, and there's a little bit of a roadmap that bears explanation. We have a few repeats throughout this song, so where you see the 2 dots at the end of the line, you go back to the last place you saw the 2 dots. So there are a couple of places where that happens, where we'll just go back and sing that section again. Hopefully we can all figure this one out together. We're going to learn this new hymn. Okay.
Stand if you'd like.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Back to the top. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions, sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. Are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions, sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of
As we sing that song of We Are Our Ancestors, we acknowledge that we are here on the ancestral and current homelands of the Shoshone, Paiute, Goshute, and Ute tribes. As Unitarian Universalists, we acknowledge the complex and violent history that resulted in the stealing of these lands and cultural and physical genocide perpetuated against its peoples at the hands and policies of the white colonial settlers. And we commit ourselves to undoing these harms, and we seek to authentically and with honesty engage in the necessary work that will produce justice for those disenfranchised and that promotes healing for the whole of Earth and all of us, all its people. And now we have a time for all ages. Rob.
Well, my friends, the year 2022, we have arrived. Perhaps bedraggled and exhausted for some of us, maybe many of us, but we are here in this new year with all of its resolutions and plans and schedules and uncertainty that is ahead of us. And so this morning I just wanted to invite us into an opportunity to reflect, looking back before we moved boldly onward into the new year. So let us take just a moment to pause, perhaps closing your eyes if that's comfortable for you, finding a relaxed posture in your body, feeling the presence of the beloved community in this room and those joining us in online spaces. We pause to feel the spirit of life and love that ties us to each other, that winds its way through our very bones and settles in our hearts. Like Janus, the god for whom January was named, we glance back over the last year and consider the joys, accomplishments, and celebrations, as well as the challenges and anxieties and grief. We recognize that what has passed can guide us. So let us first think of the good things. Looking back at the past year, what is it that you are proud of? What were your accomplishments? What are some of the special blessings of 2021? Take a moment to consider those things for which you are grateful. What are those things that have served you well, which you would like to take with you into this new year? We also come to the opening of a new year with events from the past year that we may want to forget or to put behind us. Disappointments, opportunities missed, loved ones lost, failures, unwelcomed burdens, and feelings of despair. Things we said or did that we wish we hadn't. Things we didn't say or do that we wish we had. Things we want to let go. Hopes unfulfilled. Take just a moment to consider those transcendent issues that lie upon your heart and your mind this day. Emptying ourselves of those things which make us anxious and render us stingy with our love, we invite the spirit of Janus, the spirit of good beginnings, to fill us and to cast the light of hope upon the year ahead. A new year offers us an invitation to open our hearts to the possibility of growth. So before we move forward, armed with resolutions that will shortly be forgotten in the day-to-day of living, let us notice what it is that remains every year, every day. What exists beyond schedules and months, beyond time. What is it that welcomes us to life? Not just the start of the year, but every day. May we create for ourselves a year of blessing. May we renew our faith in the power of love, to weather the winters of the heart and blossom and bear fruit in its season. The now late Archbishop Desmond Tutu reminded us that we are each made for goodness, love, and compassion. Our lives are transformed as much as the world is when we live with these truths. We can be human only together. A person is a person to other persons. We so desperately long for all of us to learn that we are meant for one another. We are meant for complementarity. May it be so. And at this time, I'd like to invite our young people to join Grace and myself downstairs for our RE activities this morning.
This community, our church, and its many ministries are only made possible by the gifts all of us give of our time, talent, and treasure. Many of us pledge monthly to support this work, and for this we're grateful. The gifts ensure that we can live our values of love and justice in the world. Part of our ministry at South Valley includes sharing our Sunday morning offerings with a charitable organization that aligns with our principles and values, and for January and February, the Social Action Council has selected Comunidades Unidas as our offering split recipient for January-February. They are a local organization started in 1999 that advocates for and serves our local Latinx community and people of color. Their mission is to empower Latinx to recognize and achieve their own potential and be a positive force for change in the larger community. And it's an inclusive organization that firmly believes in family unity, equal opportunity, empowerment, and self-sufficiency. So please do give as you are able, and we will share our offering with them. We'll say our offering words together. They're in the order of service. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts.
Join me in singing 318.
We
for all we have received and all we found the courage to give. May we be truly thankful. May these gifts be a blessing to South Valley and Comunidades Unidas. And now all gathered here today are invited to participate in a silent ritual of joys and sorrows. If you have a joy or sorrow you'd like to have held in community, please approach this altar and place a stone in the water. You can take a minute to choose the right stone and think about the joy or the sorrow. This ritual is practiced in silence, but we do get to hear John on his violin as we do this, his gift of music. At the close of the ritual, when all have had a chance to do the stone, we'll add 2 final stones. The first for those in our virtual community, and the second for joys and sorrows unexpressed, but still held in kindness. So please process up this aisle and leave by that aisle as you would like to come and place a stone. With Mary Oliver's poem, The Summer Day, we remember summer in the midst of our winter wonderland. And we hear from this amazing poet our call for today's music and speakers, for all of us to ponder as we begin the new year. The Summer Day. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who's eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who's gazing around with her complicated and enormous eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? I know I've been shaped through many years by this community, and what I have done and continue to do with my one wild and precious life is lifted and enhanced by being with all of you. We influence each other in many ways, and almost annually we hold this service so we can hear directly from each other about what we're doing with our one wild and precious life, our plans, what we have done, what we're doing right now, whatever aspect of that our speakers would like to address. And thank you for your deep listening as our speakers come forward today. We have Shawnee and Jordan Roberts, who will be first, and then Peter Verscore, and then Brenda Thomas. So you guys just come on up when it's your turn, okay? Shawnee and Jordan.
Good morning, friends. It's good to be with you this morning, and those of you who are watching from home, thank you for joining with us this morning too. I hope you're all well. I hope you're continuing to be, happy and even, joyful during this time. And so I'd like to share just a couple of thoughts with you this morning about safety. So I don't know how many of you have seen the old skit from George Carlin, the comedian, about the differences between American football and baseball. I don't know. If you haven't, you should watch it. It's comedic gold. But I grew up playing football in junior high and high school. Wasn't really a big baseball fan until the Diamondbacks went to the World Series in 2001. And then I really got into it. So he basically describes the differences between the style of baseball and football as, football is all about warfare. It's about, conquering territory from the enemy and driving deep past the line, whereas baseball is about being safe at home. Right? You hit the ball, you run really fast to the base where you're safe, right? And then you come home, and that's how you win. And it's hilarious, right? But after reading a few books this past year, I realized that my life, even though I grew up in a very conservative, manly, misogynist type of family and community that was all about, don't tread on me and my rights, my liberty, my freedoms and all of that stuff, that was never really my style as a person. As a person who came from a very insecure attachment with my own mother, an absent father, I was always looking for safety. I was always going from one person that I looked up to or one institution, namely the church I grew up in, for safety. And when that fell apart, I would look for something else, right, to attach myself to feel safe. And that's how I got through life, going from one safe harbor to another. And it worked. I'm here. I'm a relatively well-balanced, adult. I have built a life for myself and our family we've built together. And I have a wonderful wife who's now my primary attachment, and I'm so glad for her. I think my kids are, securely attached, I hope. They seem to be able to run off and do things and just glance back and be like, are we good? I'm like, we're good. So that's good. But through the past year, I've realized that safety in many ways is fleeting, and it's an illusion. So much of our lives, we are just this far away from absolute destitution, illness, and losing everything. We just don't know it, right? We can't see that in all moments because it would destroy us. Like we have to have it, we have to protect this fragile ego that lives inside of each of us. And to do that, we create all of these layers of illusion. And, they're very practical. They help us to survive. And so I'm not knocking them. Like those illusions are absolutely essential to living, as a normal human. Like we have to have them. But they are an illusion. They are just mist. And at some level, we do have to come to peace with that. And we have to realize that we are ephemeral. We come, we go. And everything that we love comes and goes. And when we realize that, even if it's just for small moments, I think that's when we feel joy, right? Joy is fleeting. Joy doesn't stay. It comes, it touches you, it lights you up like a Christmas tree, and then it breathes away. And that's okay. That's how it's meant to be. So I don't think there's anything wrong. In fact, I'm a huge proponent of living safely, of doing everything we can to protect ourselves, the things and the people we love, and even the people we don't love, right? Even the people who are working against us. I still feel like we should try to do our best to protect them. But at the end of the day, we do have to recognize with humility that everything we're doing, it's, to serve a collective illusion of safety. That's okay. It's necessary. It's important. But let's approach this with humility, knowing that we're just doing the best we can. We're just people doing the best we can, trying to find joy in those fleeting moments. And I think that that's something that as I've gotten older and hopefully more mature, has brought me patience and helped me to feel less frustration when things aren't going the way I would like them to go. And I hope that it brings you joy and patience too. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Shawnee Roberts, married to Jordan, who just spoke. I've been thinking a lot lately about my path to becoming a teacher. Some of you know that I teach English as a second language to adults. And I just was thinking about when I was in college, I started out as a music major. And then, I knew I wasn't good enough to major in music performance, so I had majored in music education, but then one day I went to a beginning orchestra class, and it was like, no, I don't have the capacity, I guess, for the sensory overload involved in that, and so I switched my major to teaching specifically English as a second language, not even really knowing what that entailed. I just knew that I liked to interact with people from different cultures, and that I didn't necessarily want a life where I had to travel all over the world to encounter people from different cultures. Anyway, so I did become a teacher. I taught for 1 year. I was pregnant during that year, and I was teaching 6th grade. And so I thought that I hated teaching, but really I just hated teaching 6th grade while pregnant. So can't really blame me, right? So I ended up staying home with my kids for 7 years, which looking back, I think it was a little crazy. Jordan was in medical school. We were living on student loans. When I look back at our life decisions, I think that was a little crazy to go for 7 years living on student loans. But now that student loan interest has been, we're on a plan where it actually does kind of make sense financially now. But anyway, Those years were really, really difficult, and I really did not know what I was going to do with my life besides be a wife and a mother. And it really was a mystery to me, really difficult. Then we moved to Salt Lake City in 2015, and I decided, well, I'm just going to start substitute teaching just to see if maybe I do still like teaching. Maybe it was just that I don't like teaching 6th grade while pregnant. So I started substituting. The way that it works, I don't know if it still works this way, but the year that I substitute taught was you'd sign up for an app that you actually have to pay for as a substitute, where jobs come in and you can accept them or reject them. And I just would take every single job that came my way. And so I ended up teaching in a lot of the classrooms that other people would say no to. High-risk teen settings, special ed kindergarten, what else? Just a lot of really difficult classroom settings. And I actually, most of the time, really enjoyed it. Then one night, we were about to go to bed, and a job came in for, all it said was adult education. And I looked at Jordan and thought, like, do you think I could teach adults? Or I said that to him, and he was like, yeah, why not? And so I hesitated for a moment longer, and then I pressed accept for this job. I went to Granite Peaks, which is the adult ESL program in Granite School District. Just fell in love immediately with teaching adult ESL. I came home and told Jordan, I just found my calling in life. And a couple weeks later, I got another job for the same place. I ended up on their sub list, and I started telling people, like, I found my dream job, and I'm gonna get a job here, I'm gonna work here. And they'd be like, have you been hired there? No, well, I'm just substituting. Well, how do you know you're gonna work there if you haven't been hired? I don't know, I just do. And every time I would work there, I would stop in the office and say, if you ever need a teacher, you can hire me. And sure enough, a few months later, they did hire me. I've been there for 6 years now. I know I'm probably over the speaking, but anyway, okay, so the last thing is, I still, every day I go to work, I still love my job 6 years later. When the pandemic started, really changed my view of teaching, though. Before that, I had a very task-oriented approach to teaching. Here are our objectives, here's how we're going to accomplish those objectives, and that's just how I approached things. And then the pandemic started, we went online, and the class sizes were much smaller. Sometimes I had 2 or 3, 4 or 5 students, and just realized, like, what people need right now is not, we're going to learn about cause and effect today, or fact and opinion, that kind of thing. I teach an academic English class, but I realized that people needed connection. They were all home, a lot of them had lost their jobs, and so we would spend a good part of the class just talking about how are you doing, and even that, it's an ESL class, English, you're still practicing English, even if you're just talking about how you're doing. But I started to see people's emotional needs more, even physical needs, and just this past year have started doing more things like bringing clothing to the school or food, or just helping people with all aspects of their life. And I just feel so incredibly lucky that I have a job where I feel fulfilled as a person. I am hopefully making a difference in the community, and that I am married to somebody who makes a little more money than me so that I can afford to do that. Anyway, so I just feel really lucky to be where I am in my life, and thankful to be part of a community with people who have similar values. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan and Shawnee, very much. Peter?
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm Peter Verscore, and I started going to South Valley about 2002, I think, with my husband Kevin, and I think Reverend Steve Epperson was the minister at that time, and we heard him give the sermon a couple times, and then they moved. So on and off, I've been going here for a long time. So I prepared some notes, and I thought, no, I'm just gonna talk. I had some ideas that I thought about. So let me see. Okay. We're starting a new year, and so everybody has personal challenges, and I thought, we're taking some of those into the new year. And mine, to be truthful, is I am going off a med, which is, I'm doing well, but it's kind of, it is bumpy. So my personal challenge is to just keep going and staying in balance. So that's one of my personal challenges. And then I started thinking about what is your personal challenge, you know? It could be that you can't see or you are deaf. It doesn't matter what it is, you know. What is your challenge, you know? What are you gonna have to deal with this year that, you know, you took from last year? And so I just started getting some ideas, and I thought, well, I liked what Shawnee spoke about in Jordan, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to do something different this year. So I actually ended up talking to Shawnee that I wanted to keep busy because I stopped working. So, and then I told her one day, I said, I want to tutor somewhere. And then she goes, have you tried Granite Peaks and tutor English? So anyway, I was going to tutor math. And then I thought, do you really want to review math all the way from arithmetic to however far you got, and then tutor, you know? And I thought it's a lot of work because I'm not a teacher and I've never taught anything. So I thought, okay, forget that, you know, that's too much study. And maybe they teach it differently these days. So then I got this idea of teaching English, and I was going to tutor at one place, and they never really followed up. So then I mentioned it to Shawnee. She said, try this. So in January sometime, I talked to Dave, one of the directors or people out there, and he said, just call me and we'll get you started. So that's what I'm going to do. One thing I'm going to do. So I was going to say that. And then the other thing was, let's see. Some other ideas are, everybody goes into this hyper mode around the holidays, and they hurry up and buy all these gifts, and they have to get all the gifts. And I thought, you know, no, I'm gonna do it kind of differently. I'm just gonna do low key, and that leads to kind of some practices that you can do. Instead of buying more and more stuff and more and clutter, we decided that, hey, just don't worry about it, you know? Don't worry about buying all this stuff. And I'm actually trying to get rid of stuff. So that was one idea of it's kind of like this Buddhist idea of attachment and detachment. I'm gonna detach from all this material busyness and craziness of the holidays. And so that felt good. So, you know, just low key, and then I have to stay in balance, so that helped. And then the other, I could talk for like an hour, but I'm not going to. The other thing is you can think about this is like the end. Maybe you're going, oh, it's 2022, is it gonna be worse than 2021, or is it gonna be even worse? We have no idea, like Jordan said. We might not make it through 2022, we don't know. So I thought, if you're kind of negative and you go, oh, I'm not gonna try anything new, do one thing. go walk past the neighbor's house when it's like a little warmer and go hi. And somebody might come and say, look at my roses, you know, and they'll go, oh, those are cool, they're, you know, and you might strike up a friendship. So just try anything. Talk to somebody, usually if you're in line at the bank or wherever you stand in line, you might never say a thing, just be irritated by the wait. You know, I have to wait here 5 minutes to buy one thing. Well, talk to somebody or grab a Reader's Digest and read one page. So that's pretty much it. I just think, you know, we don't know what's going to happen this year, but we all have the challenges that, you know, they could be very severe, from life-threatening to I want to relocate or I want to change jobs, who knows. So that's it. Just keep in mind whatever your spiritual practice is, how that can help you kind of start off the year and have a good year. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. I love the connection that you're going to do some things at Shawnee's place. That's awesome. Brenda.
So I do have some things written down I will read. As human beings, we are connected through story. That's how we make sense of our world and how we connect to one another. Stories have sometimes been compared to windows and mirrors. When a story reflects part of your own experience, it can feel like you're looking in a mirror. When a story reflects experiences different from your own, it is like looking in a window, seeing a new perspective. And when a story is different from ours, but invites us in to experience a little bit of it, creating space for empathy, it can be a sliding glass door where you get to enter the story. So I'd like to share a few stories with you from my life in the hopes that you might find a mirror, a window, or even enter through a sliding glass door. As a little girl, I loved to read. I read on the couch, on the porch, even perched high in an apricot tree in my yard. I loved going to our tiny city library to pick out my own books. However, even when I was just learning to read and choosing picture books, I was very careful about my selection. I mostly chose books from authors that I already knew. You see, I was afraid. I was afraid of books that might have something bad in them, something I wasn't supposed to see. I was also afraid of ideas that might challenge my beliefs. I grew up in a small Utah town in the religion of my ancestors, in a family that was afraid of the wider world. All the time I was growing up there, I believed that by following certain rules, I could create a perfect world, one where I was safe and everything was fine. I felt like I had to follow those rules in order to exist in that world, in order to be valued and loved. I did not make choices about my own life. Those decisions were already made for me, and I followed them. My views on the world and my place in it started to shift when I had the opportunity to live in places outside of Utah. And many of those opportunities were connected to the religion of my ancestors and to my husband. I met people from different worldviews, experiences, and lives. I discovered there were many ways to live in the world, and that the world was much less simple than I had thought. There wasn't just good and bad, but very complex relationships and realities that required more than a simple explanation. This opened up so many more opportunities for me in my one precious life. I finally realized that I could be the author of my own story, and I didn't have to follow someone else's narrative, but I could choose. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? I have come to realize many things about my wild and precious life, and I'm sure I will continue to learn more as I mature. First, I get to choose. There's a meditation I listen to often where the speaker says many phrases, one after another, like a cascade of warm thoughts washing over me, a waterfall of words. One phrase has always stuck out to me. It has to do with endless possibilities. And I tried to find this meditation this morning, and I didn't have enough time, but it goes something like you are in this hallway with thousands of doors, and when you open one door, you are in another hallway with thousands of doors, thousands of opportunities, and it doesn't end. which can be overwhelming, but also freeing. And it also reminds me that there are no perfect choices. Not only do I have endless opportunities and endless options to move forward with my life, there's not one perfect choice. Not one way that things need to be done, but there are endless options. And when I choose one option, there are always more options after that. It doesn't end in a dead end. Second thing that I have learned, in order to really experience and appreciate this one wild and precious life, I actually need to engage with life and experience things. When I was growing up, I thought I could vicariously experience things and get the same enjoyment. One example really stands out in my mind. Every summer we would go to Cedar Mountain for a camp with other teenage girls and women, and I loved going up there. Every single day I would wander out into the forest and explore and find all these magical treasures. But one thing I never participated in was the mudslide. So we'd get this hose going down this slope, and everyone would go down, get covered in mud, and have this really fun experience. And I never did it because I thought it wasn't worth the effort of cleaning up afterwards and having to wash my hair in cold water. So I thought I could enjoy it enough just by watching it. And I've since learned to take opportunities when they've come, because there really is no substitute for experiencing things in our lives. How can you have a wild life if you don't experience it? Third, I've learned that living a wild and precious life doesn't mean I have to be constantly filling it with productive acts. Growing up, I always felt a little guilty for the time I spent reading, time that I felt was frivolous when there was so much work to be done. While I still struggle with this a lot, I am learning to take time for myself. I'm learning that taking time for myself is what makes this life precious. Living with intention, finding joy in the moments, and taking time for doing something I love, these are what make life precious. I've also learned the value of taking time to do only one thing at a time instead of busily trying to accomplish everything at once. This was brought into really sharp focus for me during an experience this past summer. So we went as a family, so I have 2 teenage boys and my husband, and we took a trip to Telluride, Colorado, and we did their Via Ferrata. If you're unfamiliar with a Via Ferrata, it is, Via Ferrata means the Iron Way or the Iron Path. And it is literally a horizontal hike across a mountainside that's kind of a cliff. So basically you're hiking along, and then you have these points where there is no land or mountain to walk on, and so they have these iron rungs that are drilled into the side of the mountain, and that's what you're hiking across. And I was sort of terrified, and I was like, we're doing what? You're doing what? And then I said, wait a minute, I'm not gonna be left behind. And if y'all are gonna do this, and we did hire a guide, I was not going to do it without the guide, but I was like, I'm gonna experience life, and you're not gonna leave me behind. And so I did it, and I probably won't do another one. But one part of it is you're not just walking on these rungs, but you have a harness, and you have these bungee cords kind of things that you clip into the rope that's going along the side of the mountain above the iron rungs. And one of the things that the guide told us is you have to stop and you have to clip in. Like, everything else you're doing, you cannot have a phone in your hand, you cannot be doing anything, you can't be talking, you have to clip in when you get there, and then carefully clip around, and then clip off when you are done. And it really taught me, because I am a person who likes to do many, many things at the same time, that I really can stop and do one thing and focus on one thing at once. And it's actually really calming and helpful in my life. So that was a really great lesson for me. I realized I can do that, and that it actually is really helpful. Slowing down and taking care of only one thing. And I've tried to bring this into other aspects of my life, into my work, into my family. And I especially find value, like Mary Oliver, as she demonstrated in this poem, in spending time in nature just to breathe, to observe, and to enjoy. Tell me, what else should I have done besides spend the day walking in the field? So these are a few of the life lessons I've learned so far in my one wild and precious life. The question still remains, what is your plan to do with your one wild and precious life? I still don't know what I plan to do with the rest of my precious life. I guess I will keep opening doors, seeking out experiences, and taking time to appreciate what I have.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you very much for our speakers being vulnerable and sharing with us, and I got a lot of inspiration from all of you. Thank you. We have our closing hymn. If you want to stand and enjoy 298, Wake Now My Senses. And please stay standing as we extinguish our chalice. The words are in the order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of action, and we hold each other in our hearts until we meet again. And touch the earth, reach the sky for our final today, 301.
Hymn 301, and we will sing all 5 verses of this.
Happy New Year.